So if Caribbean Airlines is subsidized by the government, then why isn't more money being invested in the airbridge to meet the demand? This was the question raised by Stephen Cadiz, who held the positions of Minister of Works and Transport as well as Tourism under the previous People's Partnership government. Cadiz does not understand why Tobaogains are continually frustrated with the inefficiency of the airbridge. Reporter Candice Jackson explores the reasoning behind his sentiment in this report.
Caribbean Airlines receives around $40 million annually in subsidies from the central government, in addition to other fuel-related subsidies. Like its global counterparts, CAL faced severe losses during the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, the central government facilitated a $66.5 million loan for the airline. Due to a lack of published audited financial statements for the past few years, the full scope of subsidies, expenses, and earnings remain unknown. Consequently, former Minister Stephen Cadiz disputes CAL's justification for not boosting airbridge flights.
Because I believe that the mandate for CAL is to provide the necessary amount of seats to and from Tobago on a daily basis. And for that, you're going to be subsidized. I mean, when during COVID, CAL was given hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies to keep them flying.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, Caribbean Airlines operated 24 flights between Trinidad and Tobago. However, post-pandemic, this number decreased to just 12 scheduled flights. Paradoxically, the airline is expanding its routes and flight frequencies to other destinations within the Caribbean.
Where is that subsidy going? Where is the Tobago subsidy going? Is it going to subsidize St. Vincent flights, Grenada, Barbados, Guyana, Dominica? CAL is now going into Dominica. How can you go and add Dominica Dominica and St. Kitts onto your schedule when you have made no provision for taking up the slack for Tobago?
Additionally, former Minister Cadiz questioned how CAL's resources are being used to service the new routes.
You're adding on routes, and the only way you're being able to add additional routes is by taking away routes from Tobago. So it's not to say that you have increased your fleet. You have increased the amount of pilots that you have trained flying on these aircraft. That has not happened.
Cadiz also criticized CAL for its handling of the airbridge during peak periods, highlighting that the airline possesses prior knowledge to efficiently add essential flights.
That is not rocket science. And especially on a long weekend, they would know way in advance what the seating capacity is going to be, and therefore you have to provide the aircraft. It is not rocket science of what they're doing.
According to Cadiz, neither Caribbean Airlines nor the central government appears to be prioritizing the airbridge, which he describes as a critical service for Tobago. I am Candice Jackson for Tobago Updates Television News.